So tonight we're here to talk about open source intelligence, and we gathered as much of our crew as possible because open source intelligence is one of the most variety-filled category that you could possibly find. Gina, what has been your favorite open source challenge that you ran into?
Oh, my favorite. There was one in Teams last year that it screwed us, but it made us angry. But the answer was in a image on Google Maps, and that one was intense, but it was really cool.
I think I know which one you're talking about. A lot of people said polite words about that one. So, John, what was your favorite open source challenge over the years?
Let's see. I've been in several different challenges. I guess some of the ones that require you to go into the Wayback Machine and find websites that have already been archived. Those are always fun.
I think there was one, and I can't remember if it was open source or not now, where you had to follow a Twitter bot and figure out what the heck the Twitter bot was trying to say, and that one was a lot of fun. But that might have been crypto.
I remember that one. I think it was open source because it was the answer was the first letter of every tweet. And it was pretty cool.
So as you can see, open source intelligence has a wide variety. Gina, what is the definition of open source intelligence?
I don't actually know.
That's okay. As you can see, we've played for a long time, and there are sometimes challenges that we don't know the answer to. So Gina, what would you do if you didn't know the answer?
Google it.
I do this because Gina knows me. My publicly proposed alternative title for open source intelligence is just blank Google it, and we'll let you fill in the blank. John, can you fill us in on what open source intelligence is all about?
Sure. So open source meaning available from public sources. They're never going to require that you register an account with Spokeo and chase something down, or pay for any kind of access that not everyone has. So open source meaning that you can find it. It's just sometimes a little bit obfuscated. So not just Google, but keep in mind that you have things like DuckDuckGo, which you can use to force searches through Bing or Yahoo or any of those public search engines.
So open source intelligence is just information that's openly available out there. Now, you guys can comment over on the side, so I'm going to ask you guys a question, and as many of you as can answer it should answer it. So, if you didn't know the answer, how would you find out how many inches there are between the Earth and Mars? Jenny's got it. How would you figure out how many hairs are in a dog's tail?
Oh man, someone said a long measuring tape on that screen.
Logan's got some good answers, but ultimately, Google, Bing, Yahoo, if you're still in the 90s, hey, it does not matter, because at the end of the day, open source intelligence is information that you can just Google. One of the common categories is threat intel, and it might be what is the CVE of the dirty cow? And if you Google that, that's definitely an OG question.
Yeah, it's in every single gymnasium.
Yeah, and then what is the affected version of something Heartbleed? Is that?
Yeah, the Heartbleed.
The answer is 2.3.4 G. I know that number for some reason.
Yeah.
It's an answer to an old reoccurring open source Intel question. So when in doubt, maybe try 2.3.4 G. That's a version number of something.
Don't be afraid to kind of dig and find creative solutions. Go through GitHub and search for stuff. Look for in Pastebin. There's a lot of different things that you can't necessarily get to just through your average Google. The Wayback Machine, for example. Sometimes you get a little creative.
Absolutely. Okay, we have another question. Let's see. Here's a question. So Jenny asked, do you recommend a team keeping a record of questions and answers or not? So You are allowed to keep your own notes and records, but you aren't allowed to share them on a public forum. So you'll see if you go to my blog that I've got questions where you can try out challenges, but you won't find out the answer unless you're correct. I'll confirm a correct answer, but I don't necessarily give out the answers to the questions. Sometimes challenges are reused or refurbished, and we want to make sure that players are able to enjoy the game for the first time, just like you were able to do on your first time, without a lot of extra data being out there. So as long as it's for personal use, it's fine to keep notes, but you don't want to sort of create like a repository of every question that has ever been asked, because it takes a lot of the fun out of the games. Do you guys have anything to add?
We'll shut you down really quick if anything is public.
I mean, there was a challenge that I would not have solved if someone had not posted it online. And when I was a teacher, one of my students found it, and I was like, and I reported it to Cyber Skyline, and they had to put it behind like a password protected thing so that you couldn't just Google it. John, you had something to add?
Yeah, I like to actually write my methods down rather than my answers. And the reason for that is if they tweak the challenge, then you put the old answer in there, then it's going to ping wrong and you're going to ding your accuracy. So, write your methods down, not the answers.
I totally second that. And Cyber Skyline does have really effective cheating audits. So if you are posting old answers to new challenges, they're going to wonder what's going on, and you could get flagged for cheating. If you are caught for cheating, you will get removed from the leaderboard. You don't get a scouting report. These are things we don't want to happen to you. So your best bet is probably what John said, just to keep a record of the questions and sort of how you got to the answer. And I like to write down all the ways that I failed.
That way you don't repeat them.
One of the advantages also of writing down your tools, tactics, and procedures that you use, sorry, I didn't mean to run over you there, is when you have other people on your team that are asking questions, then you have something you can give them without cheating.
Yeah. And I'd say every time you learn a new skill, I used to do this in our practices, even when I was a coach, because there was people on my team that knew things that I didn't. Every time I saw that they knew something that I didn't know, I said, well, how do you do that? And I'd write down every single step. Yeah,
so methods, as Loken says in the comments, methods are definitely better than answers. And I can't see the name here. Matt Battle says it is a lot like math. Knowing the answer is fine, but understanding how you got to the answer is better. And I don't think I could have said it better than Matt did. So
I see also in the comments that Jim is a pretty seasoned open source guy, because he's talking about Harvester. Harvester is one of those advanced tools I wouldn't necessarily expect most people to know about. But
why don't you tell us about it, John?
So there's certain scripts that will automate your searches for you and make those open source gathering a lot easier. Harvester is just one of those. But there's definitely like things you can use to scrape Twitter, or write a script that will perform what's called Google Dorks, and you can Google that term.
I love Google Dorks.
But yeah, basically you can search in domain, for example, and narrow that focus down to find the information you're looking for. The big thing about open source intelligence is that it is a needle in a pile of needles. There's so much information on the internet that trying to find the right information is the real challenge. So if you can narrow that focus by using different flags, different search strings, really kind of leverage the power of the Google engine without just search terms, right? Adding the plus and minus, adding in domain or in URL, or even file type. There's all kinds of those shortcuts. Well, people have gone through and they've written scripts that will automatically take a subject that you type in, and then it just will automatically perform all the searches and spit all the results out for you.
That's really cool. I don't think I've used that tool, so I'm glad one of us knows about it. Yeah. What's great is now that we can have more people on the show, we can have more people to talk about different things. I just want to give you guys a heads up that at the end of the show, we are going to invite you. If you want to ask your question just by audio, we can have you joined by your computer's microphone. Or if you want to ask your question on video, we can add you to the show. That's what's great about this new platform. Do not feel obligated to hop on camera, but if you want to join us, we're happy to have you. We're happy to highlight our players. For some of you, it might be like, oh, it's too short notice. I got to like do my face. That's what I would say. So
Dave, that's actually using the question tool, I see, instead of putting it in the comments. That's great.
Dave, I'm going to start answering your question next. We're going to bookmark it for you. So here we go. Dave says, would you recommend any other resources to practice before the upcoming season? John, I'll let you go first.
Whew. Tell you what, I'm going to take a pass and I'll go last.
Gina, what about you?
I mean, that's the thing. There really aren't too many resources to practice from. So I'd say if you have played before and you do have some of the old challenges saved, take a look at them and kind of give yourself a little refresher. If you have any old, so somebody just said hash count. This reminded me of that. If you have any old, like, little password cracking like hashes, go re-practice them. So things like that. Just re-practice what you already have.
Someone also said Pico CTF in the comments. John, didn't you and I do Pico together?
We did Pico together. We've done a couple
Easter.
of SANS challenges.
Yeah.
You can always go back in, like, for example, SANS, I mentioned, the SANS. They have a holiday hack challenge. And after the challenge is closed, then they discuss it and you can go through and you can still play those challenges. You just can't get any points for them. Well, the advantage to that is that you have basically a white paper written on how to do the challenge. We also played a Hacky Easter together, which was great for second.
I think that was one of my favorites that we did.
That was a lot of fun. But yeah, there's a lot of great CTFs out there that are online. If you want to find some of those, go to CTF Time. I think it's .io. And just find some of those. I like one. It's actually called AE77FF, I think. I find these through Discord. There's a couple different Discord channels that are dedicated to just CTFs online, and you can always find new CTFs as they're coming up.
So I'm going to post a comment here with a link to my coaching guide. So I have the pretty much exclusive, most content you're going to find in one place without NCL and Skyline chasing you down. Guide to preparing for the National Cyber League season. We're actually using my informal learning objectives as our outline for what we're coaching you guys on the season. We're using my coaching schedule, I guess. I have a certain order that I like to introduce topics.
I think we're going off of that schedule just a little bit next week.
Little deviations, yeah, for scheduling. I'm going to be on an airplane next week. Little hard to do it. So yeah, if you read that coaching guide, I think, I wrote it because I felt like it needed to exist, and I genuinely feel like it's one of the best resources for getting ready for NCL specifically. It's how I got my Player Ambassador position, and we are publishing Pro Tip Tuesday. So this live coaching session actually pairs with Pro Tip Tuesday. You guys should see a call to action somewhere that says check out Kate's blog. It will take you straight to this week's Pro Tip Tuesday, which talks about open source technology, and I think it has 2 practice challenges in there. Be easy. My Google Forms is trying real hard, but a developer I am not. And it was the best method I could to not violate any rules with Cyber Skyline. I really respect them. I really respect what they do. But I also think that, some practice content should be available year round, and that's what I've tried to create. I do negotiate with them and make sure that they're okay with everything before I post it. So, my stuff is probably the most expensive public resource that is available, and all of the NCL Player Ambassadors are going to be contributing content to our update of my coaching guide. And at the end of the season, we will be publishing a new coaching guide with all of our new tips from this season. So does anybody else have anything to add to resources for the upcoming season?
I think we.
Let's see. Yeah, I've got one other one that I kind of wanted to drop here. Let me grab the link and drop it over here for you.
So, John, you're going to drop that into the comments for everybody?
I'm working on it. New platform.
We're getting there, guys.
Over the wire. That's a great one.
And then
there it is.
So, John, tell us a little bit about the InfoSec Institute, it looks like.
Yeah, the InfoSec Institute. And I actually kind of find a couple of my tools from here because they have very similar categories. So they have like different styles, though. So if you want to do an attack and defend or reverse engineering, packet capture kind of stuff, they have crypto, stego, reverse engineering. So InfoSec kind of mirrors what we do with Cyber Skyline. So Pico CTF is a link on there, in addition to like RootCon and a couple other ones. And then at the bottom of that site, if you go down, you'll see CTF guides and resources. And I find that some of those links are really good, especially the Reddit subreddit Security CTF. So one more thing, just that kind of came to my mind, because I noticed that someone mentioned Over the Wire, Bandit, some of the underwire kind of challenges. Those are not going to be the same format as NCL. Those are typically like network attack, break the box, get the flag kind of challenges. There will be a web application exploit that would be helpful to read the OWASP top 10 or go through some of the web application books. They're always a really big challenge for especially newcomers. And then
I'm still not good at them, so I'm not even gonna be on that show. I'm gonna let the experts take it away, and that just shows you can play the games for a long time and still have areas that you're not good at or that you could train harder at. I'm so excited that Gina and John are not eligible to compete because they're player ambassadors, because now we can talk about it and learn from each other. It's going to be great. But, we can do that all season, but you guys, you have the team challenge, which is so great. Unfortunately, John and I have always been against each other in the team challenge, so we could never collaborate.
Well, against... she's added me to her team before so that we could kind of rank and stack, see how her teams are doing against my teams.
Oh, yeah, John and I compete hard. And that's one of the things that I really love about the games is when you make friends in the games. There's people who, oh my goodness, I can't remember their names. I feel so terrible. One of the guys' names is Ghost in the Machine, and they run a podcast together. I think it's 3 of them. There's a wonderful woman involved who interviewed me for their podcast.
Oh, that's Gina.
Yes. Oh, you're right. That's why I can remember. It's your name. And I love talking to them every season. There's a really great community in the online Slack channel. So when you register for the games, there'll be a little memo that says, join the community Slack here at the top of your screen.
Registration does open in 4 days, guys, by the way.
What opens?
Registration for this fall season opens in 4 days.
4 days?
4 days.
4 days. Okay. So in 4 days, I want to see 4,000 people register. Day one.
Some people haven't started school yet.
I think it's
what month is it?
We've had 4,000 before.
Some schools start later.
I think
we've had almost. Well, I want 4,000 on day one. Thank you to Dr. Roberto. I'm not going to slaughter your last name. For appreciating our enthusiasm. We really do care about the players. We adore what we do. We think NCL is really important. For me, NCL helped me figure out that I did belong in technology. I was put on the hacking team when I really didn't believe that I had a lot to offer. I thought I was too dumb to be in this field. It helped me figure out that I had a special skill. It turned out to be cryptography. I learned it from playing Nancy Drew video games as a child. And who knew it would have brought me to a career that I really love and enjoy. John, do you want to talk about how NCL's helped you?
Well, yeah. Let's see. So I told a little bit of my story last week, so I'll just give a short summary. But I got out of the military, and the military does things slightly different than in the real world, so to speak. And the other problem is that what we do in the military, we can't always talk about. So it gave me a chance to kind of retool my skills and get some certification, if you will, that I actually knew what I was doing. So, and more than that, I think it helped my confidence. Being able to know what my placement is or see my own improvement over several different seasons. It's been very inspirational and reaffirming.
Honestly, I really wish I could put like the 100 emoji across the screen after what you just said, but
yes.
So one of the features that we did lose, and I always want to be honest with you guys, is I can no longer like throw your comments on the screen. But the good news is we have that running panel. Everybody can see all of the time. It's gonna be a lot easier for everyone to see what you guys are saying. So just know that chat over there is pretty exclusively for you guys. We're gonna look at it and see it and chat with you, but you guys can chat with each other. You can actually chat with each other when we're not live, but I do want to warn you, it will not be moderated when we are not live. So if there's an issue, please email us, info@nationalcyberleague.org, and we'll, go handle the situation if anything gets bad. We always want our players to feel safe. That being said, I can't flash your comments on the screen anymore, and I'm a little sad about it. Gina, back to you. Tell us about how NCL has helped your journey.
So my journey is like super different from, not maybe super different from Kate's because we both started in like totally different field. But I started college as a nursing major. I was like, well, I want to help people. Let me just go into the medical field because that's like your mindset when you're 18. You shouldn't have to choose a career at 18, by the way. And then I was like, okay, not for me. What skill do I think I have? And I was like, you know what? Let me go into computer science. Went to computer science my sophomore year and really realized that like technology was what I was supposed to be doing. And then met Kate my junior year, and she forced me to do this.
Voluntold. I did not force you.
Same thing.
I forced you.
You forced me. But honestly, it was probably the best thing that anybody could have done for me because I didn't feel like I had a path. Like I knew I needed to be in technology. I knew that it was what I was good at, but I didn't have like a path that I was like, yes, this is what I definitely want to do with my degree. And now here I am, and I coached starting in my third season. And like John said, it so helped with my confidence because it definitely wasn't there before, and it made me realize that I knew a lot more than I thought I knew, and I was able to teach more than I thought I knew to begin with. So NCL's definitely been a big help for me.
100 emoji that.
And I'd actually like to point out the comment that I'm going to butcher the name here, Dr. Roberto, that he made about attracting new people, right? And especially, female, minority, just a large diversity of people. It is a great accomplishment, and I have to 100% his comment.
Yeah, I agree too. And for me, I've been on a 3-year journey to involve the National Cyber League with the Women in Cybersecurity Conference, and we've got this really amazing partnership going on, and I can't wait to tell you guys about more details, honestly. But I think it is so important to show females especially that there's nothing to be afraid of going into a CTF. There's a statistic out there that says men will apply for a job if he has 60% of the job requirements, and a woman will not apply for a job unless she has 100% of the requirements. And I'm sure there's variation, and I don't know where non-binary people fall in the spectrum, and I don't mean to diminish that in any way, but I think it's relatively true that unless most women are sure they will succeed, that they will not take risks very early in their career. So I feel like some women won't necessarily sign up if they're not sure that they're gonna, win the games. And for me, the National Cyber League isn't about winning; it's just about getting started. I think it is the best first CTF there is, because every challenge, every competition, every game in the competition has easy, medium, and hard. Easy challenges, if you're really good at Google, you're going to get about 70% of the answers. So go hard, Google everything, be fearless, and I promise you're going to find something that you like. And the categories are so diverse and cover so many different elements of the field that it's really going to help you by trying it and growing from season to season and seeing what you start to like, that you're going to help figure out what path you want. And I think it's so important for women in this field to try it out before they go for those jobs, before they finish their education. It's important for guys too, and I support you guys 110%. But my passion is to get women into these games. And I think we have really great statistics on the number of women that participate in NCL out of like a percentage-wise. I don't know the numbers, but I was in the meeting where they talked about the numbers, and I was happy. All right, but we'll see you. If you come back in the comments, I'll flag you back in. So Dr. Roberto says their female players rock. They're getting snatched up by several military contractors in Colorado and the Southwest. And honestly, that makes me so happy to hear. Yeah, and really, NCL does take curriculum to career. I say it all the time. So it's so important that students try this out. There's another learning platform that exists, and I won't point fingers, that really believes that you either have a natural talent for cybersecurity or you'll never succeed in the field. And I am the prime example of how inhumanely wrong that group is. I didn't know anything.
Sorry about that. I got a severe thunderstorm warning over here.
I am the prime example of why that is wrong. When I first started competing in the National Cyber League games, I did not know that Control-Alt-Delete were 3 entirely separate buttons and was still getting help to log into my lab computer during class. I came back to school thinking I wanted to go into end-user development because I like to make things pretty. I had a background in some theater design, and I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I only got into technology because my fiance made twice as much money for half as much effort. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm smarter than you. And I fell into cybersecurity, and I was so lucky and so blessed. And I have worked so hard to learn everything that I know. And I promise you, if you are excited by this field and you are passionate about this field, it does not matter how much you know when you start. It only matters how much you can learn along the way. And anybody who tells you otherwise needs to get out of your way, and you come follow me. And that's why you should be in the games, so that you can come follow me and use NCL as your own journey to success, because that's what I did.
Me too.
Okay, now that I ranted.
Sorry. Should we get to open source?
So I know I said that I was going to invite you guys to come on the show. So if you would like to join the show, whether by audio or video, whichever you prefer, let me know in the comments. You can just say video if you want to be on video and audio, or audio if you just want to do audio, and I'll add you. You can set up your stuff, and if you join incorrectly, I can change and toggle the permissions to match whatever you post in the comments. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Who's excited about NCL? I can't believe registration starts in 4 days. How did the season already get so close?
Oh my gosh, this month has flown.
Matt, have you ever played the games before? I can't figure out how to check your answer to the poll. Okay, good. Thank you for answering. So if you've never played before, I highly recommend checking out my coaching guide. I posted it in the comments earlier. You should be able to scroll up. That's the best place to start. But I cannot say enough about how much the games really help students who are just starting out in this field. My first competition, I went in with all of my spunk and passion and excited nature and did my best.
And
I did really bad. Yeah, I did bad. I did so bad. I'm pretty sure the only people I beat were the ones who forgot the competition was happening.
Yes.
And within 3 seasons, I was performing the top 2 to 3% nationally. I made top 100 out of thousands. Like, you really can grow through this competition. And if you use the resources that are available to you, if you use the training platform, if you compete in the games and fail a lot, because it happens, go into the Slack and talk to the community. They will never share answers, but they will talk you through how to work through the problem. And the methodologies that I learned from the Slack, honestly, I might be player ambassador, but the community taught me how to play before I was a player ambassador. Like, I learned from the community, so it's definitely the best resource. Jenny, I'm going to make your question in the comments a question. I think there's a button. Ask a question. Ha ha ha. Okay. Jenny asks, how many hours do people typically play in the play weekend? So preseason, traditionally, I can't promise that I've looked at the schedule for this season. Traditionally, preseason lasts about a week. It's usually, a full week. And for preseason, I recommend about 8 to 20 hours total, like, if you're ambitious. And if you're just starting out, maybe 4 to 6. Like, you don't have to kill yourself. I would not put more than 20 hours in because
Definitely killed myself my first weekend, and oh man, like, part of it was worth it, part of it wasn't. I was stressed.
Yeah. So preseason is much longer, so you can put a little more time into it. But I pretty much cap people at like 20 hours. Like, stop. Like, calm down. Okay. Because preseason only places you into a bracket. It doesn't actually, affect your rankings in the game. It just says whether you're in gold, which is the top 15%, silver, the top 50 minus gold, and then bronze, which is the bottom 50%. But the bronze is great for new players because you're competing against people at the same skill level as you. So you have a chance to score really high in your bracket without being really high on the leaderboard. So it's a really great tool. And then for the regular game, the individual and team games, I think those last from like Friday at noon or 1 Eastern to Sunday at like 9 p.m. Eastern.
It's like 1 o'clock on Friday to 9 p.m. on Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, so, and these are what it traditionally is, because I haven't looked at this year's schedule because I stink a little. I would spend probably 30 to 40 hours that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I don't recommend that. So I did that, but I want to be honest, I did that.
Same.
But I would say, no less than 4 to 6 hours and no more to like 15 to 20. Again, don't kill yourself. Ultimately, you're going to get to a point where there's not a lot that you can still do, and killing yourself and beating yourself up is really just not worth it.
Almost like, it kind of makes you feel bad about the fact that you can't get the answers, and it's so not worth it.
Yeah.
Because I remember at the end of my first season being like, oh, I didn't get these challenges, I didn't get those challenges, I didn't get those challenges, and in the end, I ended up being like more frustrated than I was proud of myself, and you really want to feel proud of yourself when the season ends. So
yeah, I like to tell people, don't stay stuck on the same challenge. But at the same time, use everything you know about the challenge. Make sure you've really investigated the challenge. So you can use the challenge category, you can use the challenge name, and even the instructions to get some of the tips that you might need.
Yeah, Google everything. Not just open source. Google
especially words that you don't know. If there's a term you don't know, just Google it.
Done it a million times.
Process of elimination is a huge tip. Make sure you don't use the same answer twice. There is a tool that tells you what answers you've previously tried. Yeah. So you don't want to use the same answer twice.
Definitely forgot that was there a couple times.
I also recommend, if you're a person who gets absorbed into the platform and could potentially accidentally spend like 30 to 40 hours in the games, I don't know anybody who does that. I do recommend making sure that before the games start, you create like a snack box of foods that you'll want to eat and drinks that you will drink, including water. I don't care if you exclusively drink soda. Also include water. Try not to die. The game
Don't
is not worth compromising your health, your mental health, your sanity.
Get
Play the
up at
games
least once for real food. That's all we ask.
Yeah. Have at least one real meal per day. I think that's something you guys can definitely manage. So as far as hours, it's all over. I'm sure there are players who only play like 1 to 2 hours. There's players who probably do not sleep from the time the games start to the time the games close. It happens. Do what's best for you. If you only have a certain amount of and if you only have a certain amount of time due to your job or classwork or schedules, don't compromise your grades, don't compromise your job, don't compromise your health, don't compromise your family. Do what you're able, and you'll still have a really great learning experience.
Agreed.
Dr. Roberto says, suggest the students not get too stuck on any one challenge. It's hard to walk away when you think you are so close, but after 20 minutes, I suggest they need to move on to the next challenge or next challenge area. I could sort of give myself like a 1 hour cap, which again is probably not the healthiest.
Depends on the challenge. If it's something like crypto and you're spending more than 20 minutes trying to figure it out, maybe switch to something else. If it's something like Wireshark, like you're gonna probably need a couple hours for a challenge on Wireshark, but it definitely depends on the challenge. If it's something that's gonna take a long time but you have no idea how to do it, maybe skip it.
Yeah. John, are you wanting to hop back into the show? Also, yes, Dr. Roberto, I do think I'm Superwoman. I mean,
season I spent like 8 hours on one log analysis. I don't want to talk about it ever again, but
did you get it right though?
I think I maybe got like half of it. I haven't done as well on log analysis since that season because I spent so much time and I realized after that it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. John, what's the most time you spent on a single challenge?
That's embarrassing. I don't want to answer that.
I mean,
it was an easy challenge.
Started a challenge at like 9:30 and quit at like 4:30 in the morning once.
Oh
like 9:30 at night to 4:30 in the morning.
I have to ask, what was the category?
I don't want to talk about it.
I was chatting with,
that was the night that the keyboard accidentally went out the second story window.
So I want to talk really briefly about the Pomodoro method that I was talking to Dr. Roberto in the chat. Basically, it's a time management tool where you go for 40 minutes like a sprint, and then you take 20 minutes as kind of a review / a cool down period. I find it's really great in teams because you are somewhat time limited. So you just go for 40 minutes and then, everyone takes a break and they walk away and they discuss, where they're at and what they've done. You actually get more done that way than if you worked all the entire time, because that reflection time to step away for a second and be able to talk. Now I'm talking in teams, obviously, that really works very well. Now, personally, I use the Pomodoro method when I'm doing challenges, in that I have to get up and walk around. One way of doing that also is if you have like the new technology, right? If you have a Fitbit or anything with a sedentary timer, just set it for 40 minutes. And then after 40 minutes, it'll go off and tell you, hey, get up, walk around, get some blood circulation. It really does help to walk away every now and then and just come back at it with a fresh approach. So, yeah.
I have a little app called Forest, and you can grow little trees, and I like to set it for 1 hour. And then for 1 hour, I focus on what I'm doing. It locks down all my apps, and I grow a little tree, and then I get a little forest in my phone. And that's a method that I use to stay on task. So we do have to wrap up. Happy hacking, and we will see you in the same place at the same time next week.
Talking about log analysis next week, so be sure to join in.
And meet our new player ambassador, WebWitch.
Thank you, everyone.
So make sure you check us out and tell everybody how great our new platform is, because we're really excited. I don't know how to end the show.